The hip-hop mogul Sean Diddy Combs has arrived in court for opening statements ahead of his trial in New York. He's been in custody since September and faces charges of racketeering, sex trafficking and transportation to engage in prostitution, which he denies. My colleague Helena Humphrey is outside the court for us. So much interest in this case, Helena. Are cameras actually allowed inside the court? Do we know what's happened so far?
Well, the media will be allowed into an adjacent room where they will be able to hear the testimony and the opening statements from the witnesses, which they will then relay to the gathered press and media outside this lower Manhattan courthouse. As you can see behind me, just a huge level of media interest. Members of the public will also be able to be there in that adjacent room. The first order of business today, Lucy, is to finalise that jury. 12 jurors are needed, with 6 alternate jurors to preside over the course of what is expected to be an 8-week trial. They will have to bear witness to what is expected to be some very graphic testimony. It had proved a little bit tricky for the judge, actually, to finalise the selection of that jury, just because this level of media interest and public interest in what is one of the most closely watched celebrity trials in years has meant that there are very few people with little knowledge when it comes to this trial, and then particularly when it comes to women jurors as well, in terms of finding women who have not experienced trauma or know of someone who had from domestic violence or abuse. But in terms of what we are waiting from these opening statements, we know that Sean Diddy Combs is facing 5 very serious federal charges here: sex trafficking, racketeering, as well as transportation for prostitution. And the indictment, 14 pages long, sets out a case which says that essentially he used that global fame and renown and wealth to lure women into his orbit with the promise of romantic relationships or career success or financial support, and then coerce them, often through the use of drugs and violence, into sex parties to perform sexual acts, including with male sex workers, which he then directed and filmed, later used for blackmail. Now, Sean Diddy Combs and his legal team deny all of the allegations. They say that these relationships were entirely consensual. But in terms of the testimony that we will be waiting for today, first to take to the stand, we expect one of the male sex workers who had been present at those parties, and then Cassandra Ventura, Cassie, R&B star in her own right, long-time partner of Sean Diddy Combs. And of course, I'm sure you'll remember that CCTV video which was released by CNN in 2024, showing Cassie being dragged through hotel corridors. She says she tried to escape from one of these sex parties which she had been coerced into. And essentially, the lawyers make the case saying that this was consensual and that they had had a partnership which had been earmarked by domestic abuse. So we'll be watching for that testimony today.
We'll be back with you throughout the day. Helena, thank you.